from Airwolf, love the pressure that they were able to put in A1, and hopefully they can continue to play like this, but stay a little bit more towards the end of the game. That way they can end up getting a chicken dinner.
Yeah, I want to talk especially on like these early drops that happen. You can see Secret Jin actually went close to Lipovka. Normally that was Bluebee's drop location. They didn't make it to the top 16,
too soon, man.
yeah, too soon. I'm so sorry. But like they went to that drop location, so you can see that a lot of these teams have put the time and research before coming into this event to like make sure that we don't get contested in the early game stage. So hopefully that is going to be going all nice and fancy.
Yeah, and from here you can definitely see just Navi. Look at Navi and George Bull, and then something that you might have not been able to see. They went all the way to Primors, and then kind of be a little bit there to Ferb here. I love that, man. I'm enjoying seeing that out of Navi. I'm hoping they're continuing to work on their IGL. I know after this event they might have some roster changes, but I'm enjoying that. Hey, they're saying, you know what? Let's try to get this tournament. Let's try to win it.
Was that a leak?
That was a leak.
You never know. You never know.
That was a leak right there.
It's out there.
How could he?
It's out there.
Probably find out over on your YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, 7 Worlds game.
But we did have, like, Max, at one point, I think it was between, like, Zone 3 and 4, everyone just booked it straight to the zone. No one wanted to play on the outsides. No one really wanted to play in the blue zone. Obviously, as we got later on, we did see a couple teams do from that. But it's really cool to see that everyone in the lobby just immediately when it shifted, like, let's just go. Let's just make the play happen right now.
The thing is, like, in this location, you don't have too many compounds, and you, like, have that plateau, you got the fields also, so you know that you want to be one of the first few teams to be in that location to hold a good spot and try and fight from there out, which is exactly what Alpha 7 did in the northern side. They got a lot of good stuff happening, and then they took that fight, moving away from that northern compound with Secret Jin. They just squad wiped the entire team. It was really well executed for them. Unfortunately, they did have to cross over the road. It was going to be a big underlying issue for them, and then the circle did shift again, pretty central, on top of Lova's in, like, no, just kept on snaking his way through. And once again, that's points. I'm not going to complain.
Hey, man, that's why I was smiling over here. I was just seeing Lois, and he was just snaking. He was saying,
get away. No, stop.
Don't even stare at me. Don't look at me. And something that I actually want to mention here, as we're seeing one of the fights, is Esvan from for Agriman. The patience that he had really impressed me. At one point, Old Boy just kept shooting at him, and Esvan just pretty much stayed prone. He waited for the right time, and as soon as he realized it was the right time, he popped up and was able to knock their Old Boy, which ultimately ended up getting them the win, as they were able to call people off their off angle as well. So patience like that is something that you're not really. It's just they're willing to take fights this early on, and I'm loving seeing
But they're winning at 7. That's the thing. Taking fights is one thing, but to win out and to win it without losing a player is even more important.
Exactly. Now, something I want to see from them is we're seeing them being able to win fights, right? But would it be time to maybe just on the next match, see if you can maybe back off, see if you can maybe last a little bit longer in those circles, so you can actually contend for those top 3 spots? And who knows, you might end up getting a chicken dinner, because right now you guys are hot, you guys are winning the fights. It could happen. Yeah,
the 2 games in a row where they actually died is because they were staying a little bit too long on the edge of circle. They're trying to actually aim more for positioning, might actually help them out to like find closure to a lot of these games. We've seen these circle pop-ups that did come in pretty big, like, no consequences. and I did like the fact of Bigatron here. Like, they moved away from Picardo really early, which in the league stage, I remember we were being really critical of Bigatron, like, staying in Picardo for way too long. But
that was Bigatron, power
they gave it up. Right? And even Kanina Power gave up on Picardo. Like, we don't want to mess with Bigatron here. And they started moving a lot earlier, but unfortunately, Nova won the other side, and they got eliminated by the Nova boys in that game.
And this right here, I'm loving this picture, because it kind of allows us to show you a little bit more with 4 AM. Look where they were at right there, and how long they were just taking to go in. And they took a very long time to loot. And on top of that, they tried to just reach a section where there was just way too many players.
Yeah, they were going to struggle eventually in that game. Like, and you talked about the cluster of teams down south eventually in Jumasera, and when like 4 men, unfortunately having no information whatever. I don't even know how initially Svan was able to find a spot between like RRQ Athena and also Secret Jin. They gave it a shot. It worked out for some time. Unfortunately, not long enough, and they did go down prematurely in that game in what I believe was 15th position. So pretty early death for them indeed. But in Alpha 7, you know, talking about it once again, fragging out. But they forgot about one player, and that was Potato of Aerowolf, that basically took a 1v3 to close off the team at the end.
Yeah, you gotta make sure that you're able to keep an eye on everybody. One thing that I do want to mention, and that we were kind of able to see them get, I believe it was 3rd place or 2nd place, it was A1 Esports.
Yeah.
They were able to put themselves in a position. Something that I actually enjoyed is, I believe it was between a fight between Glass and Kanina Power, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong there. But A1 Esports had the chance to see if maybe they could third party that, see if they could pick up some easy kills, and they decided not to. They decided to wait a little bit longer, which allowed them to secure a 3rd place. Something that I do want to see out of that team, as we're seeing more stuff here, as we're seeing the ending here, is
right here, the 7WG over on Instagram. We can see now, obviously, how the zones did shift throughout our last match here on Vikendi, and obviously the playing path, not too bad. I'm a little bit sad to not see, you know, Dino Park finishes, but, you know.
I thought for some time, I thought we were going to have a castle finish. I mean, Aerowolf on it.
Did get excited.
I love my castle finishes, okay? Those are rare when they happen. I'm truly happy when that is indeed the case. But no, this is a circle that, especially in the PMGC League stage, we remember, like, this circle has been happening time and time again. So these teams, these players are really familiar when it comes down to this. And, like, especially the reason why you had teams not playing too much on the outskirts was mainly because of that river. If you were on one side committing fully and and the river shifted on the other side, you were going to get instantly denied so quickly, and you would struggle to find a decent position, or at least a way to make your way already inside the circle itself, which is why Team struggled. But like some rotations that were really clean, you can see Abrupt Slayers and Four Men on the east both went over to the bridge that was just up top of Castle up north and made their way back in. But unfortunately, you had teams like Power Triple Eight, Bigatron that were contesting that a little bit and making it harder for those rotations to actually pay off.
And one of the things you can also see from right there on your bottom left of the screen, you see RQ Athena just being able to get into some fights there, and the way that Nova Esports was able to position themselves to take on that fight later on against RQ Athena played out really well for me.
Now looking at Kanina Power in this one, like they dropped Volnova, right? And this is round where the circle was finishing. Volnova, they're very familiar, and unfortunately there were just so many teams that were on the outskirts of Volnova, gatekeeping, teams moving away from that compound, that unfortunately Kanina Power, that was too much for them to bear with, and they did tend to rotate a little bit too late away from Volnova, which at the end did cause their demise.
Yeah, and with Team Secret, as we're seeing right there, one of the fights between Team Secret and Football is we saw Matawai actually being able to clutch up.
Shot in the blue, like what?
Yeah, I don't think anybody from the Footballers players, they were expecting that. I think they were just expecting maybe to just take an easy fight and finish off somebody.
It didn't go well. Hold that plane.
I tried to sign up, okay? But like players don't use it mainly to do damage. Sometimes they use like utility to force players out of respective positions. Like hiding behind a tree, check a grenade. You know that grenade's not going to do any damage, but then you just got the line of sight. The moment he moves away from that position, you line it up, and that's an instant kill coming your way. So they're using it in really, really nice ways. I am enjoying it. We did see then the circle popping up really early, and I think that here teams like, especially on this pop-up specifically, they're like, okay, we're 100% going to go to Military Island, and I'm surprised. Like we did not have too many big gatekeeping positions because team were actually really respectful on their rotations. Was actually a lot of rotations coming on through, especially from Na'Vi.
Yeah, and talking about Na'Vi, they did that ball rotation once again from the west, right? Every single game so far, it has been from the west. They tend to land on that area. They continue to do that. Now, if they continue to have this great performances, you know teams are going to go back and look at tape. They're going to be seeing where everybody's going. They're going to be trying to readjust. They're going to be trying to just create new strategies because it might be different than what it was from PMGC League. So I want to see, I know everything's working right now for Na'Vi, but in the next couple of games, if possible, I do want to see a little bit something different from Na'Vi and still have it work for them just so they don't become
stagnant.
Yeah, and they're only basing it off on just one thing because if for some reason everything falls apart, oh man, that's when you know teams can definitely crumble.
Yeah, talking about falling apart, like Airwolf had such a good spread. Like once again, just like the Erangel game on game one today, they had such a good spread, a lot of information, a lot of also aggressiveness coming out from their spot. And unfortunately, that circle that came downhill in like an open terrain, they were just like, we can't rotate there. There's already teams down below. We're locked on that mountaintop position. We can't do anything. And unfortunately, if the circle went towards them, that could have been a win for Airwolf, but it was just not going to be the case. But oh boy, those grenades on Team Secret, man, like you can't do anything because you don't even know where they're coming from most of the time.
Yeah, I was surprised that he didn't end up getting both of those players' skills. I was actually surprised. I think Team Secret just ended up running out of utility as well. I think with them knowing that Old Boy was there, if they would have had some extra grenades, I think it would have been an easy pick, and then they would have just had to worry about 4 AM. But
Summon my Paraboy card.
Right. If you guys got a good card, I'm okay to trade. I got like Blue Eye White Dragon. If you want it, we can trade off.
Not happening. I ain't trading my Paraboy for anything. Let's take a look at the recap of the zone shifts we did have. And there was something you guys talked about, the River by Boot Camp. Seeing Power AAA, I remember watching them as the zones did progress. They went for this like rotate on the other side of the river where there's basically no team. And I will say, a little bit of luck on their side. The zone did shift towards them, but unfortunately they didn't close out as many points as they were hoping for.
Now that you mentioned actually Power Triple Eight, something that we saw with Triple T whenever they were engaging each other is we saw him getting hit by the blue zone. I believe it was later on when you should definitely just stop picking them up. He continued the revive, and that split second I felt like it cost them so much. I don't know if it's maybe because it's the first day they're trying to just get into the rhythm of things, but I don't know. I don't want to see those little mistakes like that later on, and that's pretty much what I'm getting to. Hopefully they can go back, watch it, be like, hey man, as soon as that blue zone touches you, you know that even if you pick up the other player, he's gonna go down because the blue zone's just doing so much damage at that point.
I forgot Blue Zone did damage.
Yeah, right?
I forgot. Oh no. Like this is the moment where like all teams are like, oh wait, oh no, this is going to be actually pretty troublesome. And Secret Jim would like right in that position. Kanina Power was the only one that could contest in some way, and they crossed the river like through the bridge next to Painan, and they are the only team that could really deal with it. But like RQ, they could not move away from the trifecta compound.
Right
if they did, they were going to struggle. But that's the move you were mentioning there, Seven.
This is exactly. You're going to see Power Triple T being able to trying to revive Corpal, and then he just continues to do it, and then you see the other player get knocked once again.
Super like, my buggy.
Yeah, it's like you should have just stopped. Just stop. Tell him to drop all your heals and stuff and just start running.
Yeah, and like once again, like RQ Athena in this position, like the thing is, if they moved away, they were just showing their back away to all the teams coming in from the eastern side, and they were just gonna have such a hard position. So they were kind of bound down to that position that nothing they could really do. But that Kengzo picks up one, Axa tries to snake his way through. But around the corner.
Yeah, I mean, whenever we weren't playing Aerial, we saw 4 Angry Men just, they ended up, in, I think it was 14th place, 12th place on the other matches in Miramar and in Sandhawk and in Vikendi. I can't remember what they ended up on. But it's going to, if those teams at the top don't perform as well, I hope some of the other teams kind of pick it up. We saw A1 Esports being able to do it there. At some point today, we saw Team Secret once again being able to step up after starting off slow. They did end up the day the same way they kind of started with just 0 points. With the rotations, at least.
Interesting circle. Like half, it was not going to go back into Sundowska Island, which I think is great. But like also one thing that we have not been having at all happen. Like we did have one Sundowska Island finish eventually, but like the 2 games that was like mainland up north, Footballist and Airwolf that dropped, itself never got called out mid-rotation on a bridge, which I think overall is like a big improvement. I did see Footballists a bit in the league play, like get sometimes stuck on those bridge locations, so they definitely improved on their scouting alone, which is great. But this is when the circle, it's centered right on top of the core buy, and I was like, wait a minute, Power Triple 8, maybe, but unfortunately it was going to be a little bit too much at the end of the day. But for Angry Men, they were like, we know we're going to have to cross over the road eventually. We don't want to go do a straight line. We're going to rotate up northwest and avoid as many teams as possible to not get gate kept. And that at the end, like once again, gave them a chicken dinner because they were like, we want to avoid the fights as much as possible until we got a position in which we can take the fight with better odds.
And in regards to 4 Angry Men, something that I want to see is, I'm pretty sure some of the teams are going to go back, just look at where everybody's landing, look to see where everybody's moving in regards to rotations as soon as the new circle pops up. We've seen over and over again now with 4 Angry Men, if they end up landing in Jasnaya to start off with, right? If the circle does end up starting to go there, they can expect at least where 4 Angry Men is going to be at, right? Because they're going to be on the edge of the circle. So I want to see what I'm going to be looking at tomorrow.